Hey everyone, Anthony Fantano here, Internet's busiest music nerd. It's the weekly track Roundup After Dark, where I go over the worst and the best tracks of the week, in my opinion. Whoa! Hope you're doing well. Every track I talk about in this segment is linked down there in the description. I'm marking doing this video off of my to-do list. All right, let's get into it. Let's get into some track recommendations. First, of course, our Amazon and Turntable Lab associate links are down there in the description. Hit them up, treat yourself. And let's start off with the worst tracks of the week. Not too many. This week it was actually a pretty good week. A lot of tracks that I loved or thought were fantastic. Excuse me. All right. New Chainsmokers track. It came out a little while ago, but I'm finally catching up with it now. It's definitely one of the quirkier and more tongue-in-cheek tracks that duo has ever drawn up, but I just find it excruciating. I was also kind of let down a bit by this new track from the band Superorganism, who have an album coming out very soon via Domino Records. They actually seem pretty interesting, pretty big band, pretty versatile and zany, colorful instrumentation. Kind of reminds me of some of the freakier and more fun indie bands that came out in the 2000s. In a lot of ways reminded me of what made sort of that new wave of indie pop so interesting, made it so interesting in the first place. However, this new song over here, Reflections on the Screen, it's obviously it's a song about relationships, possibly even friends as well, all being done over the internet in the digital age and so on and so forth. But honestly, listening to the song is about as interesting as watching somebody just stare at their phone screen. It's pretty boring. Maybe that's intentional. Maybe they're trying to reflect, I guess, a lack of excitement in 24/7. And if they did that, then kudos to them. They really captured it. Moving on from there, let's get into the tracks that I thought were meh. You know, not amazing, not terrible. Just kind of wanted to shout them out. But still, again, I had a hard time throwing tracks into this section because even some of the songs in here were pretty decent, but there were a lot of tracks that sort of wowed me this week, tracks that I thought were amazing this week. It was a really good week. But Twin Shadow has a new single out, Saturdays, and I believe he has another out as well, but this one features the band HAIM, and it's actually a really kind of great, smooth, very funky, and infectious synth pop track. A little bit of an old school splash of kind of reverb on it too. It's got a nostalgic aesthetic to it. It's a very fun tune, very well written, very fun. I guess it didn't really blow me away, but still a decent all around decent track. The new Remo Drive track is okay. To me, it's not quite as raw and as emo as their earlier stuff, while the recording quality is definitely better. They have a new EP coming out very soon, and it looks like they are now currently signed with Epitaph Records, which is pretty exciting for them. Not sure where things are going to go from here. I guess I am, again, excited to hear that studio recording overall is better, new and improved. But the energy and the angst isn't quite as raw and electrifying as I guess it used to be. So it'll be interesting to sort of see where the band goes from here, how they progress, how they evolve. I guess if they land on their feet. Moving on from there, Post Malone has a new single out with Dolla. It's pretty woozy and atmospheric and very moody, a lot like Rockstar, but nowhere near as catchy. Still, though, Malone and Ty do deliver some pretty compelling vocal performances. I just don't think it's like the best tune that I've heard him drop. Like, definitely not as interesting a single as his last single, but still, I'm mostly holding out hope for his forthcoming album, Beer Bongs and Bentleys, that it's going to be decent. If we have more tracks on it like Rockstar. All I really want at this point is that it's better than his debut, which it can't be too hard to do that. New Mount Eerie track, which is super long, super wordy, very verbose, very personal, a lot like the previous single that Phil dropped. Looking forward to this new Mount Eerie album coming out this year. After that, Miracle which is a new synth pop duo, or just sort of like gothy synth pop, kind of new wavy duo. They have an album coming out this year via Relapse Records. Features Daniel O'Sullivan, who has been in a lot of different bands, collaborated with a lot of different artists over the years, who I'm a big fan of. He's been in the band Guapo, which was a really cool experimental rock band that I was a big fan of. He's collaborated with other bands that I love, like Sun. And Steve Moore of Zombie fame. So they're kind of getting together on this thing, of course, collaborating with other musicians along the way too. And again, they're essentially coming through with this weird gothic, to a degree, very sad, very moody synth pop sound. And I don't know, it's interesting that these two worlds have collided. And it's interesting to see the genre of music they're making here. And it's interesting that they're putting it out on a freaking metal label. So, I don't know, man. There's just like a lot of weird X factors here. This song over here called Light Mind, very interesting video. I don't know. There's something about this track that, while it didn't blow me away on my first few listens, like I feel like it could grow on me a lot more as when I hear the album, because there's definitely like a weirdness to it and eccentricity to it that's kind of drawing me back in again and again and again. New Little Dragon track titled Sway Daisy. It's not quite as redundant as a lot of the songs that have been dropping on their most recent material. However, it is super, super low key and didn't quite leave much of an impression on me, but still, I'm looking forward to giving a shot to their next full-length LP. And Hot Snakes have a new track out, which is pretty catchy. Sub Pop is going to be dropping their next record. The name of the track is Death Camp Fantasy. Super sharp, infectious hook on this song. Not quite as like wild and out of control as a lot of the band's older material, like in their heyday and everything. But still, those indie rock and post-hardcore vibes are coming through. And so far, it sounds like the totally wild, uncontrolled sound being swapped out for what's essentially just, I guess, some more memorable, more hooky songwriting. It's not necessarily a bad trade. So let's move on to the tracks that I thought were the best this week. Tracks that excited me the most. A lot of songs in here. I'm getting excited talking about this because a lot of great songs dropped this week. Venetian Snares and Daniel Lanois. Hopefully you know who these two people are. If you don't, Google is your friend. Apparently two more worlds colliding that I did not expect at all are going to be coming together this year. Daniel Lanois, who, if you remember, producer, I know he does guitar. I don't know how many instruments the man plays. He's getting together with Venetian Snares, experimental electronic music producer Venetian Snares. And the first track from their upcoming album is like some of the freshest stuff that I've heard either of these two people involved in a long time. Like, it's super dense, it's super glitchy, but there's that added sort of weird washy, almost shoegazy kind of psychedelic atmosphere that it seems like Daniel's bringing to the table, but it actually ties together kind of well. So I don't know, I'm just looking forward to seeing where this goes. Like, interest peaked. Moving on from there, new Street Sects track. Sort of seems like the duo is doing a better job on this new song over here of kind of fusing some of the newer sounds they've been working with the very brutal industrial, very hardcore brutal industrial sound that they're known for. The title of the track is In Contempt. New Screaming Females track called I'll Make You Sorry, which again, it sort of seems like they're really going down this road of like writing some of their most melodic, some of their most catchy rock tracks yet. And to my ears, it's going over really well. Like, this is actually probably the record I'm the most excited to hear all the way through and review this week. Because for me, the Screaming Females have always had more potential than they've sort of capitalized on for a while. Their first couple of records are fucking fire, just from front to back, fire. But I feel like they hit like a little bit of a slump for a while where they were kind of rehashing a lot of ideas and kind of repeating themselves, but it really sounds like they're doing something super fresh and a bit more ambitious on this new album. And I'm just like psyched to see them kind of progress. And, very few bands have been around in the indie scene and have been plugging as hard as they have and have been as consistent as they have for as long as they have. So just like dying and unending amounts of respect for screaming females. Like, no matter whether their albums are amazing or just merely okay, because there's so much talent in each member individually. They just are so DIY till they die. And I just can't say enough nice things about screaming females, so I'll just continue on. Next, new Parquet Quartz song, which is kind of like a two-parter here. Almost had to start a fight and in and out of patience. Not only is the instrumentation on this thing, it kind of celebrates the same kind of post-punk vibe and indie rock vibe that Parquet Quartz is known for, but like it seemed really experimental and kind of winding and very weird this time around. Also, I loved the way that the two sections of this song kind of transitioned. Sort of seems like, I don't know, just some of their most progressive stuff that they've ever written and dropped so far. Also, I cannot get enough of this single art. Like, it's absolutely fucking insane, along with the music video too. So I don't know, man. Just like so many artists are just dropping fucking fire this week. Parquet Quartz dropped fire. Logic dropped some fucking fire. 44 More is like one of the best songs this dude's ever recorded. Super fast flows, a lot of witty lyrics, banger beat. Loved his voice, loved his delivery on this track. Like, it's such a great song. I wish it was on his last record, but man, this was like seriously a nice pick-me-up for Logic and a nice follow-up to all the good things that have been happening for him this past year. You know, I wasn't super crazy about his last record. Unfortunately, I feel like a lot of people kind of bust his balls about the biracial thing, but honestly, I think there are a lot of good things about his album. Sometimes I feel like it's not deep enough or he doesn't go far enough, but he's still a very talented rapper. And every once in a while, he does come through with a really great song, and I think 44 More is an example of that. Where do I even start? Janelle Mone. Janelle Mone. Dirty Computer, new album, dropping this year. Make Me Feel, Django Jane, 2 songs, 2 music videos, dropped this week. I don't even know what the fuck to say. This is like some of the best material she's ever written, period. Hands down. Don't at me. Like, it's fire. It's amazing. Like, Django Jane is this like super empowering, amazing, just above and beyond, like a transcendental rap tune where she just pretty much lays out all the reasons that she's so ahead of the game, so cutting edge, how she's been so cutting edge, how she's been just like on another mental level when it comes to just music in general. And love the visuals of the video too. Think her flow, think her delivery is awesome. And then Make Me Feel. Fuck, this song is sexy. This song is so like incomparably sexy. And sure, it's like a huge Prince homage, like so many elements of this track musically, and I feel like just the vibe of the song in general just so feels like Prince's Kiss. But Monae and, you know, whoever else she's working with musically on this track just had this genius, I guess, kind of vision of reinventing it, plugging in different sounds, kind of recreating a very similar groove and a very similar vibe, but totally coming through with like a very different sound and something that is so updated, so contemporary, and so her too. You know, the point of inspiration is very clear, but there's nothing really about this song that says, "Ugh, I like it's so much of a carbon copy. I just would rather go listen to the other one." Like, both of them are so amazing, and I can't even deal with how sexy the music video is. It just I get all anxious thinking about it. I can't. I can't talk about it anymore. I need to move on to the next thing because these songs are fucking amazing. Like, this sets my sights and my expectations so much higher for Dirty Computer than the teaser tracks did for Electric Lady. Like, Electric Lady teaser tracks were fine, but to me, that album just felt like Monae was kind of resting on her laurels a little bit, not really pushing boundaries in the way that I felt like she was on Arc Android. And now I feel like that is back. That risk factor is back. That bold sound is back. I feel like while the influences are clear, she's not super duper wearing them on her sleeve to the point where it's like, okay, like what's the point? Really, what are you doing? To me, this is just like, she's just pushing forward. And I fucking am here for it. I am here for it. Cannot wait to hear this album. Next, new Hopalong Song, not A.A.L. I was kind of underwhelmed by the last single to drop from the forthcoming Hopalong album, which, if you haven't heard of them before, check my review back catalog. I loved their last record. They're an indie rock band with a lot of instrumental talent, especially when it comes to the vocals. Last song, though, underwhelmed me, as I said. Felt a little bland for them, kind of a little safe, like they were really playing it super low key. This new track over there kind of goes into a folk direction, though, which is a sound and an aesthetic that actually fits them really well. They take to this sound, they take to this style very well. Instrumentation is beautiful. Vocals are much more intimate than they've been in the past, but still very intriguing. And, if there's one thing about their last record that I would kind of critique it for, it is that it is a little one-dimensional. There is kind of a sameness amongst a lot of the songs, and what makes me kind of excited for this forthcoming album, given what I've heard so far, is that maybe they're really kind of experimenting and getting out of their comfort zone and trying a lot of different things. And given their talents, given their songwriting ability, I'm definitely intrigued to sort of hear where that might take them. Moving on from there, FLOWERTRUCK, Australian band, bringing together elements of indie pop and post-punk and jangle pop. New record on the way very soon. This new song is titled Enough for Now. Incredibly cute, heartwarming music video. Love the shouty lead vocals. Love the dreamy synthesizers. The bass groove is great too. Saw these guys play live when I was doing a speaking tour down in Australia not too long ago. And I really don't know what else to say. I just think it's all around a very fun, a very good song. Shout out to FLOWERTRUCK. I think they're a very solid band. Moving on from there, new Flatbush Zombies track. New Flatbush Zombies, wee wee wee. New album on the way too. This one is titled Headstone. To me, definitely one of the most commercial sounding tracks the trio has ever put together, but still pretty decent hook. A lot of great bars on the track. Definitely not as hollow and sort of lifeless feeling as a lot of the tracks from their last album. Sort of feels like the production is a bit more full, a bit more heavy. I guess I'll kind of leave it at that. Again, not quite as wild and just as crazy as some of their best stuff that they've put out in the past, but still a banger, still a pretty forward thinking hip hop track. And new Father John Misty track. God damn, the hits keep coming. I'm just how many songs did I love this week? But the new Father John Misty track is actually really great. What's funny is Josh sent me a nearly finished version of this track in an email months ago, and I was afraid to listen to it because I didn't want to hear a demo version of anything. And it was like I said, a version of this track, and it was almost identically the same as this song that we're hearing right now. And I feel like an asshole for not listening to it because it's fantastic. I love it. I love the sad, dreary lead melody. Of course, Josh's lyrics are as witty and as funny as ever. Overall, I'm just really impressed with the song. To me, felt like a song off of I Love You, Honey Bear, but sort of the negative I Love You, Honey Bear, the dark I Love You, Honey Bear. So I don't know. And of course, given the title and given the concept of the track, it's a very funny and intriguing self-reflection of sorts. Moving on from there, Against All Logic, which is an electronic music project on Other People Records that I shouted out on Twitter not too long ago, maybe a week or two ago, because I liked some of the material I was hearing on there. And now the news has come out this week that, lo and behold, it's actually Nicholas Jar recording under this name. So that's pretty cool. Definitely give a shot to the track we linked down there in the description box, Some Kind of Game. I'm really looking forward to reviewing this at some point, I think either before the month is out or early March, because it is actually really good. And I think that should be it for the weekly track roundup. All those tracks are linked down below. Make sure you try them out. Make sure you give a listen to them. Again, so much amazing music dropped this week. I just so much to talk about. Oh, and I actually missed one track. The album art didn't make it into here for some reason, but it is linked down there in the description. A new track from the band Guerilla Toss, a non-album track. Track is titled Spider Herd. And again, if you watch my review of their last album, they bring together elements of dance music and post-punk, but the freakier side of the genre, like XTC, like that shit, like Devo, like that kind of thing. But sort of noisy and freakish and over the top. And that track is amazing as well. So a lot of personality, a lot of fun, a lot of good grooves. I'm going to leave it at that. Those are all of the songs that I wanted to point you guys to. You're the best. Love you. Hope you got a lot out of this video. Hope you got some good recommendations. And I will see you in the next one. Cool. Anthony Fantano, Weekly Track Roundup, forever.